They also had a penthouse. This was a luxury condo, literally overlooking Central Park. There were people that were like celebrities and bankers and, Wall Street's booming at the time. That is who was living in this building. And Daphne, who is literally just weeks old, is now coming in with her glamorous supermodel mom, her super rich business person dad, and they are ready to give her the best life possible. The neighbors remember Daphne as this really sweet girl that genuinely had it all. She was always wearing these really cute little flowery dresses. She was really smiley. She's always, right next to her beautiful mom. She's got private tennis lessons as a little kid. She goes to the best schools in Manhattan. I mean, this was the framework for a child that was going to grow up and be successful, or at least, I don't know, well-loved, liked, a socialite perhaps. Now, of course, all girls kind of go through something in their preteen years. Around 12, 13, 14, I'm sure a lot of you guys know, we start looking at like, what do I actually like? What interests me besides what my parents, point me to? What makes me feel excited and alive? And for Daphne, that was kind of doing bad stuff. This episode is sponsored by Squarespace. Is it time to build the website that you've been putting off? I know. You've been working hard on your business. You've been working hard on your art, your courses, whatever it may be. And the website, we don't want to do that because it's not part of your passion. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But what if I told you that you could knock that all out in 90 minutes? I mean, everything. Registering the domain, typing the text that you need to fill in all the blanks, uploading the pictures, picking out a design. And what if I told you that it wasn't as stressful as you thought it would be? It's kind of fun. Listen, with Squarespace, all you do is you go to the website, sign up, pick from the hundreds of designs they have that are easily customizable, and just click, 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 and keep changing things until you like what you see. I mean, look, you guys that play any of those games that have all the customizable things in it, like you're customizing your house and whatnot, I already know you're gonna love this, okay? Especially y'all that need to make a website. You just click, 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 click until it looks pretty. The best part is Squarespace also has SEO tools to help your website get discovered. They can, register your domain for you. They can do email marketing. I mean, anything, everything you need. It's all right there. And also the back end has a pretty robust dashboard for analytics. So if you like diving into all of that, seeing where your web traffic is coming from, how you can improve, it's all right there. And the best part is we will give you 10% off of your next website subscription or domain registration. All you got to do is go to squarespace.com/sinister. That's squarespace.com/sinister. Daphne was messing around so much that she had to transfer schools twice. Her parents were very affluent, so they kind of were able to scrub most of what did Daphne do? What was the problem? They were just like, hey, listen, if you go quietly, we won't say anything. Just transfer. And this happened to her twice. Then, when they were approaching the third time, her parents considered sending her to boarding school because they just couldn't control her. Later, people would say that by the time Daphne was about 13 or so, she was not just a child, she was a force to be reckoned with. If you were to confront Daphne and even just say, hi, how are you doing? The energy you would get back was very intense. She approached every conversation, every person as a challenge or a puzzle, but it was always something that she fully intended to conquer. People got a really uneasy feeling from Daphne. Everything started with Daphne with what I would consider okay, that's being a kid. She was skipping school. She was hanging out with kids on the street in New York, not going to class. I'm like, okay, maybe it's a phase. Well, this part is really interesting. So I've seen mixed reports on this, where some cases are like, whoa, no, that didn't happen. And then a couple places are like, actually, yeah, that happened. My theory here is that Daphne's family was so rich that they were able to scrub a couple of things or sweep some things under the rug. But doing a little digging, I found out that at one point, her dad had filed a restraining order against her because she was hitting them. This goes with crazy alarm bells for me because a lot of times when a child is hitting their siblings, they go out into the world and they hit other people. Now, when a child is hitting their parents, oh, they definitely have absolutely no respect for any other human being, and they will go out into the world and hurt people. And this wasn't just a once or kind of twice situation. Apparently, it had escalated to the point that the father tried to file a restraining order. Now, something else that I just want you guys to be aware of is throughout this story, you will find that they really wanted to get help for Daphne, and they always saw her as her daughter, even through what she did. Oh, they funded everything legally. Like, they really took care of her. But, they really had to put their foot down in some areas and say, like, this is not okay. So that's an interesting tidbit that, some places are like, it did happen, didn't happen, or whatever. And I'm like, well, who wrote this down if it didn't happen? So I got to tell you guys that. But the main reason, supposedly, that this was happening was by the time Daphne was 14 years old, she was drinking a lot. She somehow was able to get access to just incredible amounts of not just like beer or something like that. Like, this kid was heavily drinking liquor. So eventually she gets enrolled at this like elite Catholic school in Manhattan called Loyola. And of course, Daphne doesn't give a Daphne's going to do what Daphne does. And she would show up to school without her uniform. Like, obviously, she knows that's bad. She would also show up, absolutely wasted at 10 a.m. And the other thing that's really crazy is, your brain is still forming when you are a kid. It's still forming when you're 14. And Daphne was just slamming hard liquor, like coming to school in the morning, just absolutely drunk when she was a child. And so, maybe some of you guys will know a bit better than me, but I'm curious, like, there's no way that doesn't, developmentally affect you in some way. And there was nothing they could do. Daphne was going to do whatever she wanted. And to be quite frank, people were afraid of her. So even though she really, in my eyes, kind of had this like sweet appearance, that might just be from the court photos. As many of you know, but for the few that like aren't aware, when somebody goes to court, especially for something heinous, their defense team will try to dress them up as just the sweetest, nicest person that they possibly can. Most of the court photos present her as kind of like this sweet looking girl with, short hair, like, oh, she wouldn't hurt a fly. But honestly, if you look closely at Daphne and her facial expressions, she kind of is exactly what the neighbors described her as. They said that, she was kind of like presented like she was a badass, like she was just very tough. Those are their words, not mine. They said she was tough looking. She never smiled. She never laughed. She just was very intimidating and didn't necessarily seem to enjoy intimidating people like, our last story, Joanna Dennehy. But it just seemed like that's just the way she was. She hated the world. She was pissed. And it was written all over her face. And people actually described her exactly as such. And they said, it was just a better day if we didn't approach Daphne at all. A lady named Stella Sands, who covered Daphne's case in its entirety, she later said, quote, "She was not your sweet, lovely little blonde girl. She was to be reckoned with." And then, one of the people from the swim team, like, some of the descriptions I'm giving you guys are from like neighbors, people that went to school with her. But then this one actually came from one of the mothers on the swim team. And they said that Daphne, by the time she was a teenager, she didn't like her mom. She just like didn't respect her, didn't care about her, didn't listen to her. And she said Daphne would always walk 3 feet ahead of her mother. She said Daphne was always rude. Sometimes her mom would speak to her like kindly or gently, and Daphne just wouldn't acknowledge her. She wouldn't look at her. She wouldn't respond. If her mother really needed something, she would say, Daphne, let's go. And Daphne would just go the other way. It was like she was intentionally showing her like you do not fucking control me. Get away from me. And people noticed this behavior. And remember I said that, people eventually just came to the conclusion like, okay, if I don't mess with her, She won't mess with me, and she doesn't want to talk to anybody. I'm not going to save her. We're just going to leave Daphne alone. I have